What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and I've been talking about this forever. And I feel like you, the viewers, you have too. You know the relationship between these employees of companies like DC and Marvel and the customers is a unnecessarily contentious one. Here's what happens. Some new, young, fresh-faced kid gets the job writing for G.I. Joe or another beloved IP. They suddenly get a huge influx of followers on Twitter, and they confuse this with, oh, people want to hear what I have to say. So they start out talking about how, a blessing and how much of an honor it is to be writing for or taking over this beloved IP. And then the transition starts to happen. It's slow, but as their followers go up, and then they get more interactions on their social media, more dopamine hits, a change starts to happen. They start to think people actually care about their political opinions. This is why you see so many comic book artists with massive followings and almost no interaction whatsoever, because they think that they just want to tweet about Trump all day long, or Republicans and all this kind of stuff, when nobody actually followed him for that kind of stuff. And it would appear that Marvel and DC may be implementing a new policy that proves this is bad for sales. We'll get right into that after a shout out from this video's sponsor, Meta PCs. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor, Meta PCs. Now, I know you're not going to run out and quick buy a brand new computer just because I ran this ad, but what I would hope is that you'll keep Meta PCs in mind for a variety of reasons, and use my promo code TheQuartering to save big at checkout. Look, Meta PCs offers custom configurations. It has insane parts availability. They're one of the few people I see out there with the brand new NVIDIA 3090 in stock and shipping. When you buy from them, they offer you build photos as they work along. When you receive your PC, it's ready to go out of the box. It's 100% US-based sales and support. And one of my favorite things, it's a veteran-owned business. Meta PCs is veteran-owned. One of Meta's owners has served in Afghanistan and Iraq and received a Purple Heart for his service. Meta also employs military veterans in the Meta Operations Center and also provides systems to veterans going back to school to help them re-enter the workforce all across the United States. Meta PCs also offers financing. Head on over to MetaPC at metapcs.com. Use code TheQuartering at checkout to save money and support my content. If nothing else, go configure a PC, build a little wish list, and when you're ready, remember to use code TheQuartering at checkout at MetaPCs. I know I'll be getting myself a brand new one before the end of the year. Check out metapcs.com. Hey, I know you're probably not going to buy one right now, but it's an awesome company. I'll be getting a new PC around Christmas time, and I will be using my own promo code. Hopefully it works for me. But yeah, check out Meta PCs. Now, there's a new rumor that Marvel and DC Comics are implementing new employee social media policies. Now, the rumor is put forth by YouTube commentator Perch of the aptly named Comics by Perch channel, who believes that the individual social media policies of these companies are shifting in the background, and that these shifts will eventually lead to a sort of domino effect for the industry. Perch asserts that this change is coming based off recent information shared with him by an inside Marvel source, who informed the YouTuber that both Marvel's park revenue and their contracted business agreements are down in the last 2 years. Well, that's no surprise given the lockdowns. Though these particular metrics have objectively been in a downward trajectory for quite some time. He then explains the concept of the double bump, which is a basic level, refers to the concept of the company laying off people in 2 phases, each buffered by periods of restructuring with reduced staff. This occurs when stocks take a big tumble at the market. Such double bumps happen all the time and almost always take the public by surprise, with multiple phase layoffs inevitably giving the impression of a sluggish recovery, even if the company remains substantially profitable. We saw this process take place at DC Comics in 2020, when the publisher held multiple rounds of layoffs across the year. All were aimed at purging most of the publisher's redundancies, editorial staff, and figureheads, including top executives like Bob Harris and Dan DiDio. These decisions were believed to be corporate ones handed down directly from Warner Media, and related to anyone's personal conduct, least of all their behavior on social media. However, Perch asserts that the wanton disregard for the fans and antagonism seen from numerous creators on social media will soon change, as the comic book industry supervisors of a leaner workforce are not ones who tolerate annoying distractions, which is irritating, and supervisors the most is the constant online activity seen from their staff. Besides the first-hand accounts given to Perch from people he knows, the YouTuber also pointed out to how quiet Marvel editors have been on Twitter as of late, particularly regarding their own personal politics and social issues, as evidence of this upcoming change. Yeah, the drum chatter has gone down now. Obviously, the election's over. There are many hot button political issues, but to me, there was never any doubt that this was bad for sales. Now, you could argue that, there are a lot of normies who don't read social media, who are unaffected by toxic comic book creators like Gail Simone. And you would be right. There is a group of people that have their pull lists, or people that see every single Marvel movie that ever comes out. We're about to find out, too, by the way. We have the Eternals releasing, November, or is it October 17th or November? We've got the Eternals coming out soon. This is the ultimate test, and people will see anything that is named after Marvel, because there is an enormously small group of fans for the Eternals. You could argue that, characters like Ant-Man also had similar things, and even Doctor Strange, but the Eternals are far smaller than that, even more obscure. And, Ant-Man financially was mediocre at best, and it was helmed by a very well-known actor already. So we'll see. We'll see how much of these people who are completely oblivious to this stuff will consume the Eternals. He further contends that if you look at any social media pages of Marvel staffers, their latest posts have been more benign than antagonistic, with only a few exceptions. From what he hears, this is no accident. Perch says that this is a result of a directive from their superiors to stop with the silliness. He says we'll see more of this. Far from guidelines, Perch asserts that comics companies could begin to respond to the Facebook and Twitter posts of their so-called creatives with potential legal consequences, and taking the noise and friction and social media activity attracts into account, consequently choose not to work with certain comic book pros. Well, I think another interesting point here is that just how few of these kind of woke comic book projects ever really get off the ground. Remember the new woke warriors that, with internet gas fueling one of the characters, and then you have Safe Space and Snowflake as two of the heroes, and then the fat one, Trailblazer, Trail Mix, or whatever her name was. That book, by the way, never got released from what I can tell. So it seems like Marvel and DC have figured out, hey, all of these, and they figured out what we've known all along, is that all these weirdos that spend all day on Twitter talking about politics, they don't buy books. And by and large, they don't also see your movies. They certainly, maybe they see your movies, but they don't buy your merch. There's a huge contingent of people that will just see anything with Marvel. That is undeniable. But that's not where they make all their money. They make all their money on merch and books and DVD sales and rewatches. This is not stuff that normie Marvel fans do. Hardcore fans, the ones that follow these people on Twitter, they're the ones that buy your expensive figurines and your t-shirts and your wristbands and your Halloween costumes and all this kind of stuff. You think this change is being implemented because publishers care about their alienated customer base, think again. Rather, says Perch, it's being made out of concern for Disney's own image, as continued attacks by their own employees would be bad publicity, especially in mainstream media environment obsessed with both polarizing culture and pointing out how polarized said culture has become. Bigwigs in Hollywood and New York could ignore that troublemaker social media tags as long as the spice was flowing and movies grossed billions. But as we've seen, that's no longer the case. As far as where this leaves the consumer, Perch doesn't see the usual neglect and condescension of comic book pros and entertainers going anywhere, though internally, he says, the entitled lot are finally starting to realize how replaceable they actually are. It would be interesting to me, you know, a lot of people saying here a day late and $1 short. This is via boundingintocomics.com, by the way. Don't fall for this trap. We shouldn't care what they say on social media. It's the woke entertainment and destruction of beloved IPs that we should care about. This is nothing more than sleight of hand trick. They will hush folks on social media, but continue to allow them to pump out poison at an unabated rate. The ship has sailed. The iceberg's already been hit, but by all means, rearrange the deck chairs. What do you think about this new policy? Disney telling their SJW employees to silence. Do you think it will do any good? I actually do. It will give more. I think it'll give projects that maybe aren't inherently overly woke, who may be written by somebody that it may actually give them a better chance out of the gate. If we saw this stuff with Kibblesmith, you know, that was so woke out of the gate that it was absolutely destroyed. If people didn't double down defending that garbage, maybe it would have had a better chance. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.